Welcome back to, I believe we're on part 3 or 4 of this, where the Lord pretty much is talking about the fact that you really got to just pay attention to your diet. See, everything. You want me to go there, Lord? Okay, let's go. I took a cooking class. I literally got culinary trained through a program that the Lord led me to through a church. And in it, me and my friend were sitting there watching a program that talked about, I think it was either What the Health or it was another one. There's another one, beautiful film called Salt. What is it? Salt, Sweet, Fire, and something else. And then it's another film we looked at. But in the film, and it was another one on cow something. I forgot what it was. But in it, they talked about these food industries. That most people don't know this, but these very same places that are sitting up there saying that we're vegan are being paid by the meat companies to promote certain things. Oh, wait, what do you mean? Yes, some of them are being paid. Some of y'all are eating things. Most people don't want to pay attention to these. I see advertisements for it. It's like, talks about your white breads, talks about things that in other countries, I'm talking about the people that lived off of the land. Okay? They live off of land. They would never eat some of the things that we're eating in our white bread, in our sweets and all of this kind of stuff, saccharin, all these things, never were supposed to be eating it. It's people that go for veganism that really, I'm talking about hardcore vegans. They're like, we don't eat white potatoes. We don't eat this. We won't even eat honey because of certain things that come from those things. Now, I haven't gotten to the hardcore veganism. Ain't got there yet. In one of the documentaries, it talks about eggs and the level of cholesterol and some other carcinogens that are in eggs is the equivalent to something in relation to smoking cigarettes. You might as well eat or smoke this. And I was like, what? Because of something that in eggs. Now, I have to say, I do eat eggs. When I was in New York, I didn't eat eggs. I actually ate, I either did pasteurized or I did the mung bean or what have you. I used a substitute. But I'm not readily available to cash right now, so I gotta eat what I have availability to me. So if I got a craving for egg, sorry, I go lactovarian. Lactovarian is a person that will still eat eggs. Okay? So with that being said, there are things that you got to realize that you are eating and ingesting, and this is it may seem like it's going left, but think about the cultivation of the ground. Your goddamn spouse is cultivating the ground. Some of y'all are called to food and health. Follow me. I'm not just saying this because I'm veering left. Some of you are actually called to food and health, and you're supposed to help cultivate people's diets. You're supposed to cultivate the ground so that when you are creating gardens, that you're growing pure foods. And with what's going on in the food industry and all of this, you need to be creating pure foods you may be doing this in your backyard. It's a minister I follow. She used to post pictures all the time of her squashes and stuff that she would plant in her backyard when she was living in New York. Some of y'all are called to cultivate gardens. There's this guy I love to watch. He's a vegan who he literally has an entire backyard of what is it? Anywhere from 6 to 8 foot boxes of gardened areas that are in his huge land. I mean, all you see is this is what is the name of the guy? Um it's right on the tip of my tongue. It's vegan something. I can't think of his name off the top of my head. But he's an athlete. He actually was in one of the health programs that I was looking at when I was taking the chef's course. And he was talking about how plants have actually helped his health journey and helped him with muscle and helped him with all of this kinds of stuff. So and I can't think of his name off the top of my head right now. But and a lot of the people that are vegan that I follow, they may have started with more weight and now they are building up muscle. And they're eating vegan diets, meaning they're concentrated with vegetables, and everybody wants to sit there and say, how can you do that and not have any meat in there? What's the meat eating? Oh, grass. Oh, they eating feed, seeds, and all of these. Oh, but we supposed to eat the meat. You sitting up here drinking milk that came from an animal that was supposed to nourish its children, but you sitting there drinking it. It's supposed to build up the body of a cow, but you're drinking it and wondering why you're dealing with hormonal issues. Some of you are called to that, but you gotta cultivate the land, don't you? In order for it to prosperously be able to receive the seeds. Because this is what my friend was talking about to me the other day. She was saying that if you keep pulling out of the land, and a lot of people don't let their land rest for the season of the 1 to 3 years that you're supposed to let it rest so that it can reformulate. I was looking at something on the news several weeks, it was a couple of months ago, when there was a major rainstorm in California. There was a whole area where there was no water, and this was a major farm area, and I'm sitting there like, which means that the nutrients in the soil ain't there no more. But these are things that need to be repopulated, yes? So you need to be thinking about how you cultivating the soil. And I already know that the Lord done gave me a vision about something several years ago, and he gave it to me 2-3 days in a row. So I know there's some stuff to come that I need to be working on, and I know that it's probably going to come up when I get connected with my God ordained spouse. So there are things that you're supposed to do. You're supposed to come back to the simpler things, and God is bringing us back to the simplicity of what we're eating, the purity. And a lot of people are like, oh, it's organic chicken, oh, it's organic beef. Be careful in this season when it comes down to meat, because a lot of meat, and I even was conversating with a friend of mine she went and had a craving for lamb, went and bought the lamb, and it was rotten. Be careful with meat in this season. I don't eat no meat. And it was funny, I was looking at a program last night, and they were making chicken. I was like, and I was like, the name of a company that makes vegan chicken popped into my head, and I immediately looked it up. And they make drumsticks and all of this. You would never be able to tell the difference from that and actual chicken. They make drumsticks, chicken breasts, chicken niblet pieces, all of this. All of this. Some of you are really called to bring about nurturing. Some of you may even be called to buy grocery stores. In order to help people. I was listening to a minister talk about the person lives in I think Atlanta, and it's a specific store. They don't even charge the people that are in financial constraints right now. They get to go to this particular store, and I don't know what's the exchange, but they don't even have to pay for their groceries. This is the stuff God's calling his people to do. Especially with these food shortages and all this type of stuff we going here, God, I guess we are. Cultivate the land. Hire in people. And maybe that is the exchange. They have hired in people that are in need of these types of positions, that have the skills in food, that have the skills in that type of stuff. And the exchange is they work there and everything is free. And the food and stuff that's coming in is donated. So you don't know. But think about these things. Because when I started talking about these rivers, but pay attention, these are rivers. Now, getting back to what I was saying in the other part, I was talking about a family. And this flows right in here. The family for years was cultivating a land, but the land ended up, something happened, and for, I don't remember whether it's 20, 50, or 100 years, the land was not being cultivated. And they lost out on crops. They lost out on what have you. But when they lost out on that season, because the generations prior to that weren't keeping it up, are we being reminded of Isaac and the wells he was meant to dig? Isaac and the land he was meant to stay on and till the ground there? Abraham and the area in which he was supposed to keep that looked dry, but he was meant to cultivate that land. Isaac, being Abraham's son, was supposed to redig the wells in order to cultivate those areas. I'm going to even bring this up. I remember years ago, I was listening to something a friend of mine was talking about, completely different friend. And she was talking about an entertainer. And what he used to do is he would go over to places like Africa. And there were areas where the people did not know how to cultivate their land, and they had large dry areas. They didn't have food, but what he did was he paid to have people come in and teach them how to till their own land, create crops. But the problem that, just like in the Bible, it talks about the people that remember when the people were digging the trenches and they kept refilling the trenches. Well, what was happening in this particular land is, because it was in Africa, there was this African gang group that would come in, and every time they would till this land and create their crops, they would come in, this gang would come in and with machetes and cut down everything that they planted. And once it would cut down everything that they planted, they would steal it for themselves. So they will wait, which is another scripture in here in the Bible that talks about the people that every time they would till the land, they will wait until the crops were ready to be harvested and steal from them. They would wait till they were plentiful and steal from them. That these people went and hid in the caves. Yeah. God's putting this together. I'm just flowing. I'm just flowing. So these people, there are things, and even our society, even though God's taking me here, I'm going to just flow with God. I don't want to squelch the spirit. But he's pretty much trying to say there are things that God wants the people to know. And I'm going to even say this. Back when Dr. Oz was still on television, he was trying to let people know, hey, people need to be cultivating their health in this way. But if he wasn't talking about medication, if you're not talking about medication, but you're talking about natural remedies, the pharmaceutical companies, but that's all right. The wealth of the wicked is going to be laid up for the just. The supernatural wealth transfer is coming, and they're going to have to pay back everything they stole from the people in the pharmaceutical industry. They going to have to. I've already gotten confirmation of that. That's coming. God's about to turn. Judgment is coming. The head is about to be cut off from the serpent. There is about to be a one and done takedown in a lot of these areas. Exposures, hidden things. It's coming down. It's coming down. Things that people were trying to talk about back then, but they were hushed up. TV shows were taken off television. We can talk about it as long as it's on the internet, but then it's one of those scenarios, especially now, a lot of people want to sit up there and say, oh, that's third party, what is it? The wording that they use, third party, not real, fake news, all this kind of stuff. And now with Chat GPT, which makes up anything, be careful. So they're trying to mix up everything and mix up lies and the truth, because that's what the enemy does. But this is a time frame when you're supposed to be cultivating your land. Getting back to what I was saying, this family for years didn't have access to this farm. And what ended up happening is the grandchildren, much like Isaac, had to re-dig the wells. And just like the people in Africa, there was Pharisaical people that were coming in and trying to put the dirt back in the wells or trying to steal from them. But you've been in prayer, you've been in cultivation, all of this kind of stuff. That when the enemy is taken out, because God's going to create a diversion, just like with Isaac, they thought the wells were full of water. Well, they were full of water, but they saw blood at sunrise. God's going to create a confusion and diversion to make your enemies take themselves out. And you're going to reap the harvest that you were always meant to reap. That family was able to take the seeds that great-grandma had. It was either great-grandma or great-grandpa had they managed to find them in the attic somewhere. It was either in the attic or the basement. And it was the last of these seeds of this very particular thing. Meaning it wasn't carrots. It wasn't onions. It wasn't this. It was a very particular thing that was known to be planted on that ground. And they started not only planting it, they started cultivating the seeds, replenishing the seeds, replenishing the ground, and they were not only using it, but they were distributing it, and they are the only family that has this thing, and they are now distributing it not just in the United States, but internationally, because people do not have it. That's the kind of cultivation God's bringing to you. People are going to come far and wide to you because you're the only one that can do it, which reminds us back to the point of what I was saying, where the particular gold, onyx, and belladome, and the stone that was a combination of all three, that's the river. God's going to give you and your family something to cultivate. And your God ordained spouse may have it, but hasn't known what to do with it, because they didn't have the instruction. But you, the helpmate, is going to come in, and when you see it, and when God shows, it's going to be like, oh, okay. Now I know that that's what I was supposed to do with that thing. It may be a business thing. It may be a land thing. It may be whatever it is. But notice it was 3 specific types of stone: gold, onyx, and belladome. Precious. Okay? And then the other 2, God's going to give you, and thank you, Coach. He's going to give you something that is something he's given to your God ordained spouse is literally something that's an asset that he don't even have to keep to cultivate. It's a scenario that these 2 streams, it's not even so much they need to cover it like that. Meaning, it's a constant stream. It continually flows. These other 2 streams are something that are so natural to him that he don't even need to continue to cultivate. A friend of mine gave me a call the other day and said something about, it was literally, she was talking about somebody's company that they literally, the person doesn't even have to work, but the person is going to get paid. Reminds me of a scripture in the Bible that talks about the people that sat there and worked for, they worked all day, and the people that came in the last hour were thereby paid and were able to receive for the others' work. God's blessing so well in this season that you may even get paid for other people's work. Whether you're opening a business, whether it's something God has called you to, some of you is going to be little things, whether it be t-shirts, whether it be a YouTube channel, whether it be what have you. I remember there are YouTubes, people are creating YouTubes on very little stuff, meaning lo-fi. They're making lo-fi channels as just an image that's 10 hours of music. Some people are doing Christian meditative music, and it's not meditative, but it's like, think about your prayer music that you listen to while you're in prayer. And they're doing the same thing that they did for meditation for Christian praise instrumentals. Or somebody is doing people need people to create videos to promote what it is they're selling, so that they don't become the face of their brand, but they have a channel that is a bunch of products or a bunch of whatever it is that they're trying to sell or promote, and their face is never seen attached to it. And people are creating the channels for this and getting paid. All they have to do is set the channel up. I literally watched a girl's video, and I still have that. I think I got the video on my computer somewhere. It talks about setting up YouTube channels that you don't even have to, once it's set up, you set it and forget it. Hello. What we out here doing? So some of this is wisdom. Some of you need help and assistance to cultivate this because some of you have never done that before. And God's giving you sources in order to financially become free in this season. But you just got to pray, is this what He wants you to do in this season or what have you? Because there's a couple of things that the Lord may be showing you. It is something you're called to. In some cases, it isn't something you're called to. But you got to get the wisdom from God to know what it is that you're called to do. But there may be streams of income that are meant to be assets, meaning they're literally supposed to fund the thing that you're trying to build. Some of y'all are supposed to be putting out books. Some of y'all are supposed to be promoting podcasts. Some of y'all are supposed to be doing YouTube series and shows. Some of y'all are supposed to be on social media. Some of y'all are supposed to be out there doing events, meetups, all these kinds of things. But you don't have the money for the venues, which thereby reminds me back of the fact that I even was shown something in relation to real estate. There are people that are out there literally renting out their property, meaning they have an apartment and they rent it out for a couple of hours while they're not there. And they're getting paid for the hours that the person uses that property, whether it be for TV, film, whether it be to do a series in there, whatever it is, for that whatever amount of time. And the person's getting paid for it. Whatever. Some of y'all need to be thinking a little bit deeper. Some of your goddamn spouses are getting paid like this. They're cultivating certain things that they don't even have to touch. Some of them are just silent partners in it. And having that silent partnership in it, they getting flow of income that's giving them finances for other things that they're doing, which is part of the main thing that they probably do for the industry that they're working in. Think about this. God has been trying to set you up. Multiple streams. Which brings me to these last 2 points. One, God showed me a video of this indigenous community that they live on apricot juice for 6 months out of the year because of something that goes on in that particular land. But everybody that drinks this very pure apricot juice, they live to 120 years old. What does the word promise us? 120 years, does it not? But they're cultivating the fruits from the land in order to maintain the what it is that they need, because I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the water in that area is not there for that 6 months, and that liquid that they are getting nourishment from is from those apricots, and they're cultivating that, and it gives them the nourishment in order to maintain for years. Some of you need to change your diet. I remember there's I think it's called a blue diet. There's a blue diet, there's the red diet, and then there's the blood type diet. Okay? Some of you need to find out what it is that's cultivated and needed for you. Some of you also need to probably start juicing. Those people in that indigenous place, they were eating apricots, but the apricots were from the land. Now, I don't know what they be putting on these apricots that they be growing over here in the United States, but whatever that was, these people were living 120 years. You need to find out what it takes to cultivate that ground to be able to have and study so that your own replenishment of your body. That's what we out here trying to do. And then the Lord also showed me, which brings us back to the word in relation to the 4 rivers, that this actually, I can't even take credit for this. It was something that was shown to a mentor of mine, and I'm not even going to mention the thing to protect what she was talking about. But with that being said, what it was is just like the 4 streams right here. There were 4 streams in which there were able to get water. And it's so funny. My phone just lit up and it said 111. They were getting water from these streams, but the streams would dry up for a season. But they knew how to cultivate the water from these streams, that they were able to then take the liquid from these streams and maintain it during the dry seasons. Just like the people that drank the apricot juice during the seasons that they didn't have no water. And they live a long time. This scenario is they had the streams dry out, and when the streams dried out, they took and cultivated. Think about Isaac. Think about Joseph. Hello. They were able to take the commodities, figure out what was necessary to keep, and store the water so that once the water was stored, they could sell it. Now, if we're going off of Leviticus 25, some things cannot be sold. Think about in the Bible, where it talked about there's a certain mixture of herbs and spices that is a holy mixture you are never meant to sell. There are certain things that the Lord is saying, certain seasons and certain things you're not meant to sell, but in some cases you are. You find out and you sit before the Lord and let Him show you that. But you need to stand with the Lord and find out what that cultivated river is for you. Some of you are meant to cultivate the river. Some of you are preparing to cultivate it with your spouse. All of this was leading up to it. So this is what the Lord has shown me. I hope this has blessed you. So I believe we are done with this. Anything else the Lord showed me, I will release it. But I hope this has blessed you. Much love, faith, peace, and blessings to you. Until next time, bye.